All right. Hello, once again, everyone. I'm Bob Turner, and this is the Summit Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I think this is episode either 70 or 71 now. We are into year 3, and I was going to do one every single week. So we should be well over 100 now, but we're trying. And it's always great to get a good guest, somebody that I think is going to be a great guest and a great conversation. And I came across Yvette Ayuso in our Coach to Coaches group with Ben Newman. And I've had the benefit of just having some great conversations with the people on our team. We're now both part of the alumni program, and Yvette's a brain coach. And when she said that, I said, "A what?" She said, "A brain coach." So she talks about being a saboteur and breaking down the mental barriers, and that's as far as I'm going to go with regard to telling you what she does. So I'm going to introduce her and tell her, Yvette, thank you for being on. I appreciate you coming. Let's hear a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Welcome to the Summit Podcast.
Thank you so much, Bob, for having me on here. So happy to be here. So yes, I am a brain coach. I actually help clients to understand their saboteur traits. There's actually 10 of those. And then once they understand those saboteur traits, then I harness the power of neuroscience to help them to really break those mental barriers to help them achieve the life that they really want. So that's a little bit about what I do.
Okay. What do you find? I've often said that. I'm like, I feel like sometimes in the past I've sabotaged myself on, say, money, for instance, finances or whatever, where, hey, you have more money for some reason than you might have had, and poof, it's gone. And a fool and his money is soon parted, right? But other things are like relationships and jobs and career and all that kind of stuff. So do you work with people individually on just how to deal with that stuff?
I do, and I work with all kinds of people, anywhere from executives all the way to stay-at-home moms. So, and stay-at-home moms are professional moms, so they should have that kudos. But yeah, there are actually specific saboteurs that really affect people. Like for me, my top saboteur is an avoider. How does that affect
Okay.
us? I mean, we have like both, good traits and traits that really affect our business, right? So good traits are easygoing, positive. We seek peace and harmony. But unfortunately, avoiders, we don't like conflict. We also don't like to do the mundane tasks of our business, right? So these are some of the
Right.
things that we struggle, which can affect our business even getting off the ground. That actually comes with childhood conflict, not being seen, or having to be the peacemakers. Sometimes you live in a happy home where maybe your parents didn't give you the tools that you needed to build that resilience to, make it out there in society. Because it's tough, right? It's not an easy world out here,
It is tougher than it's ever been, really.
for
How'd you
sure.
get into it? What drew you to, brain coach?
I love neuroscience. Like I'm such a geek when it comes to science, and even in my own experience, just recognizing that I had, a difficult childhood, and I took on, some belief systems that were not true. And so not being good enough, feeling insecure, even some other traits as feeling inferior. That's another one. And just having all of these different types of belief systems that really prevented me from getting ahead. And while I had some really wonderful successes in my life, I also had a lot of barriers, a lot of failures.
Okay. How do as I've gotten older, I've run into a lot of people where I'm, kind of like, you need some help. You should tackle that. How do you encourage somebody to seek someone like you out if you know that they're dealing with some things, or more importantly, not dealing with it?
It's really helping them to understand, like I said, there's an assessment that they can take. It's really helping them to understand, like, what is it that is causing that mental block for you? What is it that's actually causing you to get ahead? And so when they understand that there's actual, specific behaviors and they have names for those, then that they're more open to seeking help or to understanding or getting more information.
I would think too that if you could show someone like this is what it looks like on the other side of what you're dealing with, that might be helpful. Am I?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so if they understand, like, here's another one, pleaser. If they understand that maybe they're too pleasing in their business and they're not making enough money because they're giving their services away too much or they're giving their time away too much. If they understand that that's specific pleaser, right? That saboteur trait is affecting their business. Then we work on that specific saboteur trait, to bring, to reduce its power or its impact, I should say. And then working more from the executive part of the brain, the CEO, what I call the CEO, prefrontal cortex, to be able to have that power,
Okay.
to be less pleasing, where you're saying no to others, but yes to yourself.
I had one of my one-on-one clients today. We were talking about the fact that he's always been a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
And those people tend to kind of take a back seat, right?
They do take a back seat, and that's a problem
Yeah,
because you're giving too much of yourself away. And when you do that, you have less time for yourself.
right.
And so how does
Yeah.
that affect you as a child? Go ahead.
What does I'm sorry, I think we're getting a little bit of lag. This happened to me on my last podcast as well, so we'll just try to work through it. I was going to ask, what does working with you look like? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? What can someone expect?
Yeah, we work together for about 8 weeks, and once a week for about an hour and a half. And so once we establish the saboteur traits, then we work on the top 3, and then I give them some tools to be able to build that resilience that they need. And once they really fully understand like what is going on in the brain, it really gives them permission to move forward, gives them hope, because a lot of times we don't understand that your brain is so energy efficient that it does not want to add new habits. So it'll do everything in its power to prevent you from happening. And so if you can push back, if you can push past those negative thoughts, right? And tell your brain that this is a safe space to be in, these new habits that you're trying to create, then your brain gives you less resistance. So for instance, your brain's going to
go ahead.
Your brain's going to do everything in its power to bring up old past behaviors and thought patterns. So if you go to the gym one day this week, depending on how you view that, whatever emotion you attach to it, either you're going to celebrate it or you're going to have a negative thought around it and you're never going to go back to the gym. If you celebrate going to the gym that one time, guess what? You have the dopamine rush and your brain's going to see this as less of a threat, and it's going to give you that push that you need to make it to the gym again. Are we still having a lag?
That's very interesting. Do you find that most people Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of lag, but we'll work through it. I don't know what it is. Hopefully Riverside will straighten it out, but had that on a couple episodes ago too. So I appreciate you working through it with me. Maybe it'll just go away. But do you find that most people are receptive to working on it? Is it something you get, hey, because it's brain stuff or mindset stuff? Do you get a fair amount of resistance to people wanting to say, hey, I need a little bit of help with this?
I actually don't get resistance. What I get is a lot of aha moments. Oh my gosh, I didn't know. Wow, this is interesting. How can you help me? That's what I generally get. This is mind blowing.
Yeah, literally, right? Yeah. And is it true? Humor me for a second. Is it true you can actually create new neural pathways in the brain by doing some of this work?
Yes. So just like our computer, there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes. We just don't know what's happening, but we know we can turn on our computer. It's the same thing with the brain. So there are 2 steps that the brain goes through in automating new habits. First step is the moment you put that habit into action, your brain experiences neurogenesis. And that's just a fancy word for an explosion of neurons in the brain. Mostly happens in the hippocampus region where learning and memory take place. So it takes about 3 weeks for those baby neurons to mature to full size to be able to connect to another neuron. When that happens, you've completed step 1. But here's the thing, there's a lot of messiness that happens in those 3 weeks. There's a lot of tug of war that happens in the brain because you've got the saboteur telling you, you're too busy, let's not do that, right? And so I tell my clients, duke it out with Muhammad Ali,
Yep.
Duke it out, stay in the ring, duke it out. So if you can duke it out and you make it to week 3, and that's why I say don't focus on what you're not doing, focus on what you're doing right, what you're consistently doing in these 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Celebrate the process because that's going to strengthen that habit. That's going to allow your brain to give you permission to keep moving forward. Step 2 is now you have to strengthen that neuron. So there's something that's called the myelin sheath around the stem of the neuron in the middle. You have to strengthen that. It can take anywhere from 67 days to a year. It just depends on how much your brain fights against you to make this happen. So sometimes it'll take 67 days, sometimes it'll take a year. Once it thickens to a certain point, then you've automated that habit. Kind of like brushing our teeth, we don't think twice about it. Or how about when you've driven somewhere, a very familiar place, the grocery store, right? Or maybe Office Depot or Home Depot. As a guy, Home Depot, you drive to Home Depot and you don't even remember how you got there. You just know you got there because you were so heavy.
Yeah, it's amazing. And no successful project is without at least a few trips to Home Depot. So that's the other side of why guys know how to get there on autopilot, because we have to go there at least 3 times during any project. Yeah. Well, what would you like people to know about the work that you do? And, the mindset stuff is, I've enjoyed it and I've dug into it, and I've got my bookshelf is full of that kind of stuff and great coaching minds like, John Wooden. Yeah. And I study that. I try to stay a student of the game and learn new stuff because it helps me in my coaching craft. But what do you want people to know as they maybe ponder or consider, hiring a brain coach, someone that can help them with these things? Yeah, I would say very much like most personal development work. I always tell guys, like, you're never done, right? You're doing this all the time. And sometimes people, and I know people that have done a lot of work on a particular thing and kind of flushed that out, but still have to go back and kind of do a little maintenance here and there and rework things. Excuse me. Yeah. So you actually get more efficient at it. Yeah. Cool. Well, I'll ask you. I have a lot of people on, and my thing is, and I get this, kind of got going on this concept and working with Ben Newman is, developing your edge, finding your edge, and that's I've got a book coming out in a month or so that's the name of it, finding your edge. And so I'll ask you, and I didn't prep you for this. Thank you, but I'll ask you, what is your edge? Yeah, the world needs more of that. Yeah, and in a time when the world really needs that right now, especially the United States, and whatever side of the aisle you sit on politically, it would be nice if everybody just shook hands and got along and got some work done. So more people could use what you bring to the table. So, well, yeah, I mean, this has been great. I've enjoyed learning about what you do. Some people are on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or like to hang out in a certain place or have a website. What's the easiest place to find you? Okay. Designed Within. Okay. Fantastic. Well, I don't know any better way to get connected with that, and in a very, it's a great extension for people to be able to jump in and get a quick consult with you. So I'll put in the show notes how to get a hold of Yvette. And I want to just thank you for taking the time to do this today. I know we tried to connect a couple of times, and good to finally be able to get to know you a little bit and bring you on and share you with the Summit crew. All right, Yvette, we'll catch up very soon. Guys, this has been the Summit Podcast. Yvette Ayuso, I'll put her contact info and all that jazz in the show notes, but I appreciate you being on for another episode. Yvette, thank you again. Take care.